Under the blood, red moon, the night America thought was ordinary became its worst nightmare, a night where the dead breathed again. Fog rolled through New Orleans like pale fingers crawling across the streets, whispers echoing through the Laveau cemetery as something ancient stirred beneath the cracked marble tombs. The ground shook softly, then violently, as if a buried heart had begun to beat after 6 centuries of silence. Tourists saw shadows moving where no one walked, and old church bells rang though no hand touched them. In the shattered earth lay a coffin carved with runes older than America itself, its lid trembling like something inside was starving for life. When it finally burst open, the world seemed to stop breathing. Alexander Drakov, the vampire king, opened his burning silver eyes, skin pale as moon frost, hunger raging like a forgotten storm. Every step he took awakened old magic, every breath summoned the dark. By sunrise, 6 locals vanished. By sunset, their drained bodies were found near riverboats, throats torn open, faces frozen in terror. The police blamed animals, the news called it coincidence, the city knew better. A king had returned, and the night finally belonged to him again. Elena Ward dreamed of fire every night after the red moon, of castles crumbling, screams echoing through halls stained with ancient blood. She woke shaking, hearing voices whisper her name like prayer or curse. She didn't know she was born with cursed royal blood, a living vessel of the very lineage that once imprisoned Alexander Drakov. Strange marks crawled across her neck, bite, shaped yet painless, fading every dawn like memory dissolving in sunlight. When she touched them, her veins pulsed with a heat that wasn't human. Her eyes reflected crimson for a heartbeat when she stood before the mirror, and her shadow sometimes moved a fraction of a second too late, like something inside her lagged behind in another world. In Baton Rouge, she felt drawn to the night like gravity, like someone was calling her home. Animals stared at her with fear, lights flickered when she passed beneath street lamps. Her mother warned her to avoid cemeteries, but Elena found herself walking toward them anyway, guided by dreams she didn't understand. She began journaling every vision: crowns of bone, thrones of black stone, a figure with fangs like ivory blades. She thought she was losing her mind. Instead, she was awakening. The blood of kings stirred inside her, and destiny began pulling its strings tight. Drakov walked through New Orleans like a ghost carved from midnight, tall, elegant, dressed in a long coat that shimmered as if woven from darkness itself. Humans looked at him and forgot why they were afraid until his eyes met theirs, then terror bloomed too late. Jazz clubs filled with laughter fell silent as he passed, and those who followed him into alleyways never returned. Police reports spoke of wild animals tearing bodies apart, though no animal drained blood with surgical hunger. Drakov was not feeding for survival, but for pleasure, reclaiming a world that once bowed to him. He hunted the city like a playground until one night he found Elena. She stood beneath a flickering streetlight, unaware he watched her with ancient fascination. When he approached, time felt like frozen glass ready to shatter. His voice sounded like tombstone cracking. "You carry my blood. You belong to me." Elena stepped back, but her heart recognized him like memory, pulse syncing with a rhythm older than history. When he reached for her, her blood ignited like holy fire, burning his touch as if she were made of sunlight. Shock flashed through his eyes. Fear, anger, desire. The king had awoken, but so had the one born to challenge him. Their war began the moment their eyes met. Bodies continued appearing across southern states, Texas streets stained dark before dawn, Mississippi rest stops abandoned with only blood left behind. Georgia towns whispering about pale figures stalking rooftops. America felt the fear spreading like plague, though no one dared name the monsters aloud. But the old hunters knew. The Order of Dawn, a secret brotherhood buried in history, rose as the world slipped back into darkness. Their leader, Marcus Hale, a man with eyes like sharpened steel, found Elena and told her what her blood truly was. She wasn't just connected to Drakov, she was his opposite, the blade forged to end him. Her ancestor sealed the king centuries ago, and her veins carried the last spark of power capable of killing him forever. Marcus trained her with weapons of silver and fire, taught her how to resist the king's call echoing in her dreams, but every night she heard Drakov whisper across the miles, "Come to me." Hunters armed themselves with stakes and holy rounds as cities prepared for war. Elena felt torn between fear and something deeper, an ache in her soul that felt like longing. She was born to destroy him, yet every dream showed her standing beside him as queen. Fate tightened its claws, and the first war drums of night began to beat. Mardi Gras erupted into horror as Drakov revealed his army beneath the glow of carnival lights. Vampires swarmed balconies like spiders made of shadow, biting dancers mid laughter, feeding in crowds too drunk to scream until it was too late. Music turned to chaos, confetti mixed with blood as the city became a feast. Fire spread through Bourbon Street, sirens wailed, people ran with masks still tied to their faces, unable to comprehend the nightmare swallowing New Orleans whole. Elena arrived with hunters at her side, silver crossbow shining like a falling star. She moved through burning streets like destiny, carrying a blade, wind whipping her hair as she faced Drakov atop a parade float crowned in gold and darkness. Their eyes locked history, clashed with prophecy. She fired a holy arrow straight through his heart, flames bursting like sunrise in the night. But Drakov laughed through the fire, pulled the arrow out, and let it fall at her feet. He was too ancient, too powerful. Hunters died screaming, bodies torn like paper. Elena shot again and again, but he moved like shadow, like smoke, like nightmares dancing on wind. She realized then she wasn't strong enough, not yet. The king smiled as the city burned, as if all of America were already his throne. Drakov captured Elena in the ruins of the cathedral where her ancestors once exiled him. He lifted her as though she weighed nothing, carried her through burning streets while hunters bled behind them. Inside his lair, an abandoned French quarter mansion draped in velvet and bone, he revealed the truth she feared most. Her blood didn't just threaten him, it completed him. She was the missing half of his throne, created by history to either defeat him or rule beside him for eternity. He touched her face gently, almost lovingly, whispering the promise of power beyond human imagination. Then he sank his fangs into her neck like a kiss of death and rebirth, slow, intoxicating. Her heartbeat slowed to silence, then roared back like thunder. Pain consumed her, then pleasure, then something beyond both. She fell through darkness as if drowning in stars. When she opened her eyes, the world had changed colors brighter, sounds sharper, life pulsing like blood through every wall. She wasn't human, she wasn't prey. She was becoming the one thing the world feared more than Drakov himself. Elena awakened reborn, immortal fire burning through her veins. She felt every heartbeat in the mansion, every whisper beyond walls, every drop of rain slicing through the night outside. Drakov stood before her like a king carved from shadow, proud and hungry. He told her she could command storms, control minds, raise empires with a blink. He offered her America, not as battlefield, but as kingdom. One word from her could turn every city into night eternal. But Elena also remembered faces her mother crying over her bed, Marcus training her with shaking hands, children screaming during Mardi Gras. She felt torn between power and memory, hunger and humanity, the king's voice calling her destiny and her heart calling her home. Drakov extended his hand, expecting the queen fate promised him. Instead, Elena pushed him back with a force that cracked marble like ice. Flames erupted from her veins, holy power fused with dark immortality. She was no longer hunter nor prey. She was something new, something terrifying. Lightning split the sky as they collided, their clash shaking windows across the city. Lovers of night became enemies of fate. On the roof of the Superdome, beneath the fading blood moon, Elena fought Drakov with fire in her veins and the strength of every ancestor behind her. Their battle tore the night apart, fangs flashing like silver knives, claws scraping sparks from concrete, shadows twisting like serpents around their feet. Drakov moved with the arrogance of centuries, but Elena moved with the fury of evolution, a new species born to end the old. Every strike she landed burned him like sunlight, every wound he gave healed with immortal speed. In one final burst of holy flame, she pinned him to the edge of the roof and drove a burning stake through his ancient heart. The king's scream shook the sky, echoing across America like thunder mourning its fallen god. His body crumbled to ash, blown away by the wind like forgotten history. Across every state, vampires turned to dust, armies dissolving like sand under waves. Silence fell, heavy and eternal. Elena stood alone beneath the moon, fangs shining, eyes glowing like dawn and midnight together. The world was saved, but she was forever changed. A queen without a king, a monster with a human heart. Some nights, Americans claim they see her silhouette soaring across the moonlit sky. She ended the vampire king, but in doing so, she became something even greater, the rightful ruler of the dark.